Draft has come and gone. New Ravens here, new Ravens there, new Ravens everywhere on this episode of the Purple Rain podcast. Yes, welcome back to episode 308 of the Purple Rain podcast, the post draft episode, the Lamar Jackson
Yeah.
episode, the Trent Dilfer. We're talking about that episode of the Purple Rain podcast. Thank you for spending your Monday evening with us. We truly love you. We appreciate you, and we have a lot, and I mean a lot, to talk about today. This isn't one of your usual off-season episodes. No, there's a lot to talk about. Not going to mince words. First and foremost, you can follow us on Instagram at the Purple Rain Podcast. This guy right here on Instagram or on X at Sutton Death. Me, Instagram simply as10.prod, X simply as10, and most importantly, the sponsor, Manscaped. Go in there, use code PRP, 20% off your whole order, and that free international shipping, the best deal on the interwebs. But man, we are here. We have a lot to talk about, Draft. I'm excited. You're excited. How are you? Draft weekend is over. How we feeling? Feeling good?
Yeah, man, you know what? Post-draft clarity has hitting me like a truck. You know what I'm saying? Like before the draft, I was like, 11 picks. Like, what are we gonna do with 11 picks? I think that, full disclosure, before we even get into the episode, I'm pretty satisfied with this draft. So I'm feeling good to say the least. But want to see how the Rain Gang is doing here. So let's go ahead and bring up some people in the chat who's here in the live chat right now. K Dog, Mod K Dog, that is to you, says, "Yo, Rain Gang, what's this beautiful Monday? What's going on, K Dog? Appreciate you for coming through each and every time." Also says, giving a big shout out to the hashtag Replay Gang. So listen, if you're not watching this episode of the Purple Rain podcast live, and you happen to be watching after the fact, that means you're part of the hashtag Replay Gang. And we appreciate you so much for coming through this episode. If you love the video, subscribe to the channel as well if you are new to our show. We would greatly appreciate that. K-Dog also saying, hey, look, man, smash that like button. It's free and it helps its son. And that is 100% correct. 100% correct, man. He's already given the draft grades and whatnot, but we're going to get to that in a second. We're going to get to that in a second. We got a Captain Gamer in here as well. Captain Gamer, what's going on, brother? Says, I give the draft an A. We hit in all positions that matter this year. Added depth at our O-line and got a new solid punt returner. Yes, sir. We're going to get into all of that. We got Spooky J in the house. What's going on, Spooky J? Says, the Kyle, I should have been a bowler episode. I love it from you, Spooky J. Appreciate you for coming through, man. We also have Don Royal in the house as well. We said Wester, LeJontay Wester, I think, kickoff return star. Thank you for coming through, Don Roy. We appreciate you. We're going to get into that, too. We got Dre in the building. What's going on, Dre-ski? So what's up, Purple Rain Gang? We might have got dude at edge. I don't have any complaints. What's going on, Dre? We're going to get into all of that. All day, Esco was in the house as Rain Gang. I've been waiting on this episode, and so have we. So thank you for coming through, Esco. We appreciate it, truly. All right, so, again, like my guy Alex said, we don't need to mince any words, right? Shout out to everybody who's watching live on YouTube. Shout out to everybody who's watching live on X. Shout out to everybody who's watching live on Instagram right now. The time to mince words is over. We got to get into this draft talk. I see Slicer59 in the house. What's going on, Slicer? Appreciate you for pulling up, coming through as well. I think it's time to go ahead and get into the Purple Rain report.
Yes, and there it is, our 11 picks, like you said. Wasn't expecting to have all 11 after the draft, but here we are with 11 new players on this NFL team. To be decided if they make the roster, but I'm in good spirits, you're in good spirits. We'll talk about them all, but you'll see here, we'll break down each and every pick. First round, we were live for that one, and there was a lot of good players, I want to say, at 27. There was a lot of different ways we could have won at 27. We could have went O-lineman. I think it was Simmons that the Chiefs ended up grabbing. I know he was still out there. Obviously, Mike Green was out there. He was still projected first round. A couple of receivers out there still talked about. But we went with the safety, Malachi Starks. So it feels like everybody mocked us with kind of like in years prior, we were always mocked to somebody. We didn't get them. We went elsewhere. But this one, we went with Malachi Starks from Georgia, the safety. I'll start off my grade right now. This is a straight solid A. This guy started fresh, a freshman in college, 14 games with Georgia Bulldogs, won the championship, has that experience that we know. I think you can't hurt to have, the big game experience. Absolutely slam dunk home run pick. I love it.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I was again, I was of the school of thought before the draft, like, hey, look, man, we need an edge rusher like within the first 2 rounds. We ended up getting one, but I think with the pickup of Malachi Starks, it does it gives us an extra edge at edge, if that makes sense. So let me break that down for us. So Malachi Starks is a guy who is a true free safety who can play on that back end. The same back end that we had to throw Kyle Hamilton back there because we were getting diced up and carved up in the first half of the 2024 season, right? So bringing in Malachi Starks now, who's going to be the future of the back end of that defense at safety, at free safety. And that will allow Kyle Hamilton, superstar that is to you, Kyle Hamilton, to be anywhere he wants to be on the field or anywhere that Zach Orr wants him to be on the field. And I think that having him closer to the line of scrimmage, we've seen how much havoc he can cause. I mean, one of the more like I can just name 2 plays off the top of my head that Kyle Hamilton has made in his very young career. He started off near the line of scrimmage that really like changed the game, right? So the one against Gardner Minshew when he was on the Colts, right? When he had the strip sack was absolutely incredible. There was another one against the Browns, I want to say it was, where there was the interception, the tipped interception at the line by Kyle Hamilton. He tips it himself, and runs it in for a touchdown. Those type of plays off the edge, right, closer to the line of scrimmage, is what is going to be allowed now because we have a Malachi Starks on that back end filling in the plays for Kyle Hamilton. So I think that this pick is just it does so much for the defense we're not really talking about just because he's just a safety. You know what I'm saying? Like we look at him as just like a safety. He's very talented, yes, but like at the same time, he's going to allow Kyle Hamilton to do. I think there's so much value in that. There's so much value in that. And like you said, I totally agree. I'm going to give this pick an A plus, especially for where we got him. I know that a lot of people were mocking Malachi Starks to come to the Ravens anyways. And that was somebody who we talked about when we were on stream with Jason, last Thursday during the draft. Like, we would be very happy with that. It ended up coming to fruition, and I'm very happy about it. You're very happy about it. See how you guys are feeling about it in the chat. What's going on? We got Sam in the house. What's going on? Sam says, yo, big up to the guys. What's going on, Sam? Big up to you, man. We got D Skinner FX in that pick an A. Are you giving the Malachi Starks pick an A, or are you giving the entire draft an A? Let us know, D Skinner. Let us know. We also have Dre in the house. Says, initially, I was a little disappointed we took another DB in round 1, but the fact we were able to get Mike Green round 2, I'm extremely happy. He can potentially be the best pick of this draft at some point. Yeah, get to Mike Green in just a minute here. But sticking to Malachi Starks, man, I think that, you have safety locked up now. You have safety locked up for the next 4 to 5 seasons, right? Obviously, we're going to go ahead and pay Kyle Hamilton a large lump sum of cash and then a lot annually as well. You know what I mean? But at the same time, again, just all the value that you get from adding a Malachi Starks, all the value that adds to Kyle Hamilton, and all the value that adds to our defense, as a whole is just, man, it's invaluable. You can't really you can't put like a rating. You can't put a number on that. It's just I cannot wait to see what Zach Orr does with this defense in year 2 of his tenure as the Baltimore Ravens defensive coordinator. But what are some of your thoughts on Malachi Starks and how he really impacts the defense?
I'm just going to start throwing some different looks at you. Let's say you're a quarterback or offensive
Mm,
coordinator. All right. And now you have Malachi Starks and Kyle Hamilton lining up safety. Or now you have Malachi Starks, Darius Washington, and Kyle Hamilton roaming. Hold up. Now you have Starks and Hamilton or Darius Washington in the nickel. Okay. Maybe you have just maybe Ardarius and Hamilton back there and now Starks roaming. Like, that's kind of, it's now a chess match at this point. I do want to ask you a question, though. And you're a big
mhm.
UFC fan. Pound for pound, where are we putting Kyle Hamilton that's, top defensive player in the league? Because I saw a lot of, debates going on because, why would the Ravens draft him in safety? Like, it's not because we, need it. It's because it just helps us be that more um, scary as a defense, having Starks back there with him.
Facts. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, if I had to go pound for pound, because really what I just got done talking about, like the value that Kyle Hamilton adds, just as a pass rusher, as a coverage defender, just as an open space tackler, you know what I mean, like just an overall playmaker as well. He's got to be in that top 5. I think he's got to be in that top five. For me, when you talk about like pound for pound defensive players and ranking them, I think you have to take heed to a lot of the linebackers that are in the league, right? Because linebackers have a lot of responsibility. They're meshed in between the secondary and they're meshed in between the defensive line. So like they have a lot of things that they need to focus on. And there's certain linebackers in this league, like Jared Verse is another good example. The young linebacker out of LA. He's going to be probably a top five pound for pound linebacker or defense player in this league here comes soon, maybe after his year two. But Kyle Hamilton, I'd have to put him up there, man. I think he's undoubtedly the best safety in the league. I think that's pretty safe to say. But yeah, I probably put him top five. You?
Yeah, I'm right there with you. When you say bring the linebacker, I think of Fred Warner automatically. Like just watching
Right.
him play, it's special, man. He's such a special talent. Yeah, I put him top five. Like you said, when you just watch the Ravens, like if you look at his stats, it's not gonna it's not every interception, but just what he's asked to do and how he does it. No matter when we put him back there, deep, and how our defense is completely transformed. Like, come on now. My biggest fear, though, all right, I don't want to think too far ahead, is this might be Zach Gore's, last season as a DC here. I think, this defense has a lot of talent. And at the point, if we can really show something, his names will be up there. Young guy, the NFL loves their young head coaches now. He'll be that guy getting all those
Yeah.
interviews, teams possibly want to get him. So don't want to think that too far ahead, but for our first round pick, man, I mean, I love it. This next one, I'm like, I thought about you day two. I'm like, man, if we don't get an edge rusher, Sutton is going to lose his mind. Coach, what is going on? Showing
Yes.
love with the Purple Hearts. Saw you on Twitter as well, showing him big love. I know he loved this next pick we're about to talk about. And I
Yeah.
think everybody loved it. I mean, this right here, I was shocked, I'll say, pick 59. I wasn't expecting this. I'll hand it off to you.
Yeah, man. So pick number two for the Ravens was going to be Mike Green. 59, a whopping 59. Mike Green was taken by the Ravens. Outside linebacker out of Marshall, 17 and a half sacks last season, led the nation in sacks. Obviously, only dropped that far because of some character concerns that, some situations came up a couple of years ago. It was refreshing. I'll start it off with this, right? Because we kind of have to address the elephant in the room when
Yeah.
it comes to Mike Green. Um, I'll start it off with this. It gave me comfort that the Ravens came out and they got ahead of it. They didn't just like say nothing about the character concerns. You know what I mean? Like they didn't just like decide to not speak about that at all. Eric DeCosta, John Harbaugh, both mentioned how they spent time with this guy, and like they felt comfortable selecting him after spending time with him. Obviously, there weren't any charges that were pressed or continued against him. Like they've all been dropped and whatever by now. So it's a thing of the past. Not to say that like he's void of any guilt or anything like that. I don't want to say that because I don't know the situation, but the fact that the Ravens were able to talk to the guy and they could kind of deduce that okay, like we can have this guy in our locker room, like and it'll be okay. That kind of gave me some solace. So on from that, right? Because that was the elephant in the room. Mike Green, I think with his 17 and a half sacks last season, this told us where Eric DeCosta's head is at. And I really, really do appreciate EDC for making this pick because I talked about it on last stream on Thursday when we were live with Jason and all the other guys. I prefer production, right? If we're evaluating a player, I don't necessarily care as much about his measurables. I don't necessarily care as much about his traits. I care about his production. What did he do? What numbers did he put up? And 17 and a half sacks, which leads college football players last season, that is the type of pick you want to make because that's going to translate into the NFL. Like this guy, and I went back and I watched some of his tape. He's got an array of pass rush moves, right? Most notably, that spin move that he's got, man. It gave me Dwight Freeney vibes. For those of you guys who've been watching football for a while now, like Dwight Freeney was a monster with that spin move. You know what I mean? Would always get to the quarterbacks with that. And it kind of gave me shades of that my first time watching him. But I mean, the guy he's just a quick twitch. You know what I mean? Like burst off of the line. And that's the type of player you need in January, right? Like, forgive my language. Fuck everything else. Getting home with 4 is the most important thing that we need in January, right? Come playoff time. I'm tired of the manufactured pressure. I'm tired of the simulated I'm tired of all the things that we have to do in order to like get pressure on a quarterback. And I understand that the past 2 seasons we were second in sacks, and the season before that we were first in sacks. I understand that. But when the going gets tough in the playoffs against actual good offensive lines, right? Who is going to be the guy to step up? I don't know if that's Odafe Owe. I don't know if that's Kyle Van Noy. I definitely don't know if it's Tavius Robinson, and I for damn sure know at this point it's not David Ajabo, right? So my thing was keep taking swings at edge rusher. That's what they did. They got a guy who's proven, keyword, proven. That should be that's the word of the day, proven. This guy is proven. I'm excited as hell to have him in the fold with the Ravens, man. And I think probably the most notable game that he had was Ohio State last
Mhm.
season. Had a really good game there, and had a sack. I can't remember exactly how many sacks he had in that game, but he looked damn good, man. And I think that what we saw from him and what you see from the tape, you can tell is going to translate to the league, and that is the missing piece that the Ravens have been needing, for so long now. That game wrecking edge, game wrecking, changing edge rusher. You know what I mean? So I couldn't be happy enough about this pick. This is honestly for me the pick of the draft. If I had to say, I'm more happy about this pick than the Malachi Starks pick and any other pick, honestly, because I said it myself. Like if the Ravens did not get out of this draft, or they don't get out the first 2 rounds without getting an edge rusher, my grade was going to be capped at like a D plus. Right. I'll save my final grade for later in the show, but obviously it's much higher than that. But any thoughts on Mike Green?
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't expecting us to take him. I was very shocked when I got the notification on Twitter that we did select him with the 59th overall pick. But I mean, I was at this point. I'm like, well, first off, this is A plus, and tell that right now. Um, I obviously hope everything off the field is settled with, and I hope it's not true. First and foremost,
Right.
um, but I hope we did do our due diligence. Did all that research and all that. But talking about football now, I mean, 17 and a half sacks is unbelievable. And I'm right there with you. Like, I don't want to take a project in the first or second round. I don't want to take a guy coming off of a torn Achilles like we saw with David Ajabo. I don't want that. I want somebody who can come in, start day one, and I think that's what he can do. Now, will I think he'd be a day one starter? I mean, he'll probably be behind Owe and KVN, which I completely understand. He has to, earn his keep. I'm all for that. But by the end of the year, man, if I can't get, 6.5 sacks out of him, because I'm going to put those high expectations, because I feel like he is a first round pick, um,
Yeah.
value wise, I need to see that, man. So I'm really happy with this. Wasn't expecting it. And after that day two, after that pick right there, I'm like, right now, it's hard to see be anything less than a B, maybe B plus, because those two
Yes.
first picks were just
Right.
at that point just knocked out of the park. Like what our biggest weakness arguably was, we addressed it, and it couldn't have been damn near bigger than that. So Terry Mitchell says here, yeah, Mike Green has 17 sacks, but he showed up against schools like Ohio State and Virginia Tech. Exactly, you can't really sit here and question, oh, it's against a small school teams. No, like he's doing against, the national champions. I think he had 1.5 sacks causing havoc. Was the guy on the defense you did circle every time and you can double him. He was still producing. That's what you love to see out of your edge rusher.
Absolutely, absolutely, man. And like I said before with the other pick, Malachi Starks, like I think that also helps our edge rushing game because you're gonna be able to have Kyle Hamilton closer to the line of scrimmage. So just imagine a quarterback having to think and worry about a Mike Green, but also a Kyle Hamilton who might blitz off of the edge. You know what I mean? And then either way, we still got Odafe Owe, who went from 3 sacks to 5 sacks to 10 sacks a season. Who he might still be progressing. Kyle Van Noy is still that veteran there who he's gonna get his every now and then. So I think that the Ravens really did put themselves in a position to get after the quarterback and create negative plays. I think there was a big emphasis on that in the first with these first 2 picks, creating negative plays. We did not do that in the divisional round against the Bills. Josh Allen and the Bills, they were able to just kind of sit back there, not make a bunch of mistakes, and just kind of cruise to a victory, and they let us make all the mistakes. So man, I couldn't be happier about these first 2 picks. I'll say, like you said, literally the floor for grading after that was a B. You know what I mean? Like it didn't matter if the Ravens picked up whoever else with the rest of the picks because I said it last week on Monday's episode. I'll say, or maybe a couple of weeks ago. I said this. I said, you know, um, damn, I forgot what I was gonna say. But That's okay. It's perfect timing because we do have a super chat donation. This one's coming from RJ
Oh,
Ori downtown. Woo! That is
excuse me.
crazy, man. Pulling up from the parking lot. RJ Ori dropping the 100 ball in the chat, man. RJ, we
Excuse
appreciate you
me.
for coming through. Appreciate you for
Excuse
donating to the
me.
channel.
Wow.
That is huge, man. RJ has been around for a minute now. He's a true Purple Rain pioneer. We appreciate RJ a lot. Just found out last week that he's a cousin of NBA All Star Hall of Famer Robert Ory. So that's actually very very cool. Shout out to RJ. RJ says appreciate you guys so much. Let's Ravens and let's get this Super Bowl. All receivers need to wear white gloves and they will have great seasons. LOL. I think we did great in the draft. Yeah, man. Yeah, absolutely. That's amazing. That is incredible. You just pulled up from the parking lot, man. Big
Yeah,
shout out.
yeah.
Big shout out to RJ, man.
I
Big
mean,
shout out, man. Making it rain here. Yeah.
it's hard to even talk after that. Thank you, first and foremost. Wow. Um, Pulling up from
Yeah.
Lot C, pulling up from Camden Yards to M&T Bank. Wow.
Pulling up from Pickles Pub, am I right?
I mean, at that point, yeah, you're pulling up from Pickles, double fisting some crushes. I don't know, with a crab dog and in your hand holding him together. So that's
Yeah.
unbelievable, man.
Yeah, man.
Wow, thank you.
Yeah, man. You made me lose my train of thought, RJ.
Yeah, I
I
was
hope
I was
I was
about to
getting ready
say
to get off.
I was about to say the Browns signed Deontay Johnson, and that just threw up there. I was like,
I was just
oh
like,
man,
yeah, this takes precedent, man.
yeah, yeah,
Man, RJ, appreciate you, man. That's huge, man. We really, really do thank you for that. Okay. Yeah, we're gonna leave it up there for now. We're gonna leave that up there for
yeah,
now. RJ, you're awesome. But just kind of still sticking on the first two picks of this draft here, man. The fact that we double down on defense, even though our defense largely is not much of the problem, I would say, in the playoffs. It's really the miscues by the offense that kind of like, kill us. But we had mentioned, me and you, Alex, and I think a lot of other Ravens YouTubers and people in the Ravens community as well have mentioned the fact that the Ravens have not been forcing enough turnovers. And if you have a back-end safety who's able to, and by the way, let me just back up to Malachi Starks really quick. Some of the interceptions that he made in college were absolutely incredible. Absolutely incredible. This is a guy who can catch inside within his frame and outside his frame like it's nothing. Like it's nothing. And oh, by the way, he's got the instincts of, dare I say it, and I don't want to sound disrespectful, but like a baby Ed Reed and Hamilton. He reminds me of that. You know what I mean? Like when he talks in some of his draft interviews and stuff like that were released after we made the pick, he's kind of breaking down film and coverages and okay, the offense was in this here. This was very important for them. So I knew to do that, X, Y, and Z. I was blown away. I was very impressed, by just kind of like not only the physical abilities, the athletic abilities that this guy has, but just the mental. This guy knows football, right? So pairing him up with Kyle Hamilton again, and then again, getting a Mike Green, throwing him in that edge rushing room, pairing him up with Dr. Rush. We know what Dr. Rush is capable of in developing guys. So man, I can't say enough about these first two picks, man. I just can't.
yeah, yeah. Right there, A plus. I mean, that's maybe A minimum if you want to twist it. But that was lovely. Like you said, those interceptions, man. Oregon and Ohio State. The one Oregon, where the way he just like swerved his body, it was insane. Like I don't know how he had control like that. That was a sick catch, sick freaking catch.
Yeah, man. Yeah, man. Let me see. Dre in the building says EDC killed it with those two. I don't see how anyone can't get with this. I agree.
Yeah,
I agree.
yeah,
K Dog saying RJ from Lot C. Absolutely.
yeah.
Urban Closer saying RJ from LA to Baltimore, making it rain here, man. He
I
made it
too.
rain here on this episode of PRP, episode 308. Showed up in Jason's stream last week too. So shout out to you
Yeah,
for
big
that.
time. Thank you,
Again,
man.
always showing love, man. And shout out to Jason, by the way. I want to give a big shout out to Jason for having his stream during the draft. We had a blast. I mean, it was what, a 3.5, almost 4 hour stream, Alex?
Yeah, I stayed
And
on
if I'm being
after. Yeah,
for the full, yeah. I hopped off
yeah.
after the Ravens made their pick. I wanted to make an instant reaction video for the PRP channel, which I did, and I did for a couple of the other picks as well. No, we had a great time on that stream, and it was a 4 hour stream about that, but it
Hmm.
honestly did not feel like
No.
all of 4 hours. It did not. It is like some past years because we, Alex, me and you, we've been doing this for a while. Some of the past years, some of those 3.5, 4 hour streams, they were crazy long. You know what I mean? But that one kind of flew by, and it was really cool because we just had a great time chopping it up with all the guys on there. So shout out to them. Let me see what else we have in here. Our guy Dylan Paul in there. What's going on, Dylan? Says, "What's
What's
up,
going
gang?
on?
Hope I'm not too late. You are not too
No,
late. You are
no.
right on time, my brother. Thank you for coming through." My guy Dylan be in the gym too, man. Play with him. Don't play with him. He be in the gym. Let me see. Eli Sports Guy says Colin Starks is a cheat code. You're absolutely right about that. Cannot wait to see what Zach does with those two chess pieces on the board. But let's go ahead and move on to our next pick, the third pick that the Ravens made. So with the 91st, the Ravens picked, who's listed as an offensive tackle, Emery Jones Jr. out of LSU, SEC lineman, man. But the big story about Emery Jones Jr. was that he is actually a versatile lineman. He can either play tackle or guard, and we know how much the Ravens love their versatile offensive linemen. You can look at like a Patrick McCary, for example, who's no longer with the team. That is probably his replacement, if I'm being completely honest with you. If I had to guess, I would say that he's going to compete for either that left guard or that right guard spot. Probably more likely the left guard spot because I know much the Ravens love Daniel Falele. I can't say for whatever reason because we saw me and you, Alex, his improvement later in the season as opposed to earlier in the season. So I think that that right guard job is definitely his to lose, Daniel Falele, that is. But on the left side, Andrew Voorhees, I think that he's still kind of like a borderline starter, right? Like still kind of like a developmental piece there. He had some bright moments last year, but I think that the Ravens really brought in an Emery Jones Jr. with the 91st pick with the idea that he can kind of give him some competition and kind of just be all over the line. They can kind of plug and play him wherever they need. What were your thoughts on Emery Jones Jr. being drafted in the third round?
I'm gonna sit here and act like I watch this guy because I didn't. I don't watch O line when I play football, unfortunately. But I was happy we did go online and just seeing people who know a lot more than me, their reactions. It was kind of mixed. I saw some people really like it, some people like could do a lot more improvement. But nobody can play both, guard and tackle. That's good, and I hope it's open competition for both guards at this point. Yeah, Flilly did, get better, but I just feel like he doesn't fit this offensive line as a lineman. I don't feel like he's athletic enough. Um,
Mm-hmm.
Once again, I do want to open. I don't want him to just have the job. I feel like you got to work for something. You can't just be given that. But this right here was promising. Just all the linemen. I'm not going to act like I know him, but I saw some people say we may have taken him a little bit sooner than possible. But
A
I
little
can't really
reach.
speak on
Yeah, I heard
that.
that.
But if I'm going to give this a grade, I'll probably go B minus C plus, mainly for the fact of versatility. I really, really like that. Um, and we did lose a good amount of linemen, Josh Jones as well, who I want us to keep. I think he went to the Seahawks in the offseason as well. So you can never have enough depth in that line, especially knowing us, how like to run it. So C plus, B minus, how you look at it. I'll go B minus just for the versatility aspect.
Yeah. And one of the things that I'd heard about Emery Jones Jr. is that he's actually a run mauler, right? Like so like he like in the run game, he likes to go after and put his hands on guys and be aggressive and really maul guys. So I love that because of course, as we all know, the Ravens are a run first team. And I don't think that the game plan this year on offense is going to be any different than it was last year. It's going to be very heavy Derrick Henry influences and Lamar Jackson running the football influences. Justice Hill will be sprinkled in there a lot as well. So, again, just having that depth and then having that versatility, I think for me, makes this pick a solid B. I won't put it any higher or lower than that. The two picks above that I would say are an A. I would say
Mm-hmm.
Malachi Starks is an A. I'd say Mike Green an A plus to me. Emery Jones Jr. is going to be a B for me. But even still, so far through three picks, we haven't dropped a B, which is great. So far this draft is looking really really good. Moving right along here though. So with the fourth pick at number 129, actually, the Ravens selected a linebacker out of California, Teddy Buchanan. And this was one that was a little bit controversial to some. And, you were talking about how people said that Emery Jones Jr. was a reach in some people's eyes. I saw a lot of people saying that Teddy Buchanan was a reach, and a lot of people graded that pick, less than like a C.
Yeah.
But let me see. I actually have an article that I was reading here from Pressbox Online, who actually is a Raven sport website, Raven Sports,
Mhm.
not but a more sports website. They talk about all things, even Orioles as well. Let me see. So they say many expected a linebacker to be drafted at some point, but this felt like a major reach at the stage of the draft. Teddy Buchanan was rated outside of the top 250 players by most draft evaluators. So
Mm.
just kind of looking at that, it does kind of seem more of like a reach. I think that at the worst is competition for Trenton Simpson.
Mhm.
Obviously, losing to Chris Board this offseason, and just kind of going into next season with mainly having Roquan Smith and Trenton Simpson there. And obviously, Trenton Simpson is not. Um, he's not like a bona fide starter just yet. He shows flashes here and there, but I think having some healthy competition in the building would be good for him, and I think that's what this is.
Yeah, I agree. I'm gonna go probably here with a C plus. We predicted this. I'm not gonna sit here like I think for all these picks, I wasn't mad at any of them. I'll just give a spoiler alert. I wasn't like, oh, this makes no sense. Like this made sense to me. We kind of mentioned this leading up, like we're probably gonna draft a linebacker, probably day three. Surprise, surprise, day three to give Trent Simpson a little bit of just juice. Losing Lee Harrison, Chris Board, like you said, there's a hole there. I'd rather have a guy like him come in than a UDFA. I hate to say another Josh Ross, unfortunately, like we had high hopes for him, didn't pan out with us, was a special teamer at most. Like this guy, I saw he was great on the special teams wise, and then possibly can play on the defense. Who knows what he can do? I think it's Trenton Simpson to lose. I don't think he will lose it, but if something were to happen, he is an athletic. Looked like it from what I saw. Was in the right places for some of the plays he made. So I'll go with C plus here. I'm not going to sit here and be mad about it.
Yeah. Yeah. For me, I'll probably go with a solid C. Um, yeah, I'll probably go with a solid C right there. Moving along to round number 5, pick 141 was
Hmm.
Carson Vincent, offensive
Yeah.
tackle out of Alabama A&M, and this was one that I actually liked. I think
Hmm.
that obviously the Ravens have two tackles right now that you can kind of call, for lack of better words, you could say bookend tackles, right? I mean, Ronnie Stanley is an anchor there. Of course, he's not 100% perfect, but there's a reason why we reached him, and I think that it was justified. And then also you look at the right side, you have Roger Rosengarten, who had a really really good rookie showing, and I think that only can get better. So having a Carson Vincent, kind of learn behind those two guys, especially a Ronnie Stanley, I think is a really good move. 'Cause getting depth at these certain positions is so important. Because tackle is one of the premium positions in the league. And on Pressbox Online, which I'll keep referencing this article here, Carson Vincent is another offensive lineman that was mocked to the Ravens. He excels in the run game, but has some work to do in pass protection. A fluid athlete that the Ravens can develop, and just kind of staying right there. Actually, I was listening to his draft call on draft night. When EDC and John Harbaugh, they call the guys and let them know that they're being picked by the Ravens, and that guy, he was just so ready to work. Like he did not shy away from that at all. Even the offensive line coach got on the phone with him and was like, "Hey, like I'm gonna work your ass off. Like I'm gonna make sure you work." And like Carson Vincent was just, "Yes, sir. Like I'm ready. Like that's what I do." So I think this kid's gonna come in. He's gonna be a grinder, and he could be potentially the tackle of the future. And again, I can never be mad at the Ravens picking up a premium position in the draft, because those are very important. So I'd probably rank this one. I'd probably grade it rather. I'd probably grade it like a B minus for me. What about you?
Yeah, I'm at a B minus as well. I can't sit here and say I watch Alabama A&M 'cause I don't, but I saw his Senior Bowl like his one on ones. He looked really good. Was handling some premier guys. But a cool story. I don't want to go too much on a tangent. He grew up I think in North Carolina. Wanted to go to either UNC, Duke, one of those big colleges. Wasn't given a scholarship. Wasn't recruited. Goes to Alabama A&M HBCU. Then when he's a junior or senior, those colleges come calling. NIL is a thing. You know,
Mm,
money's calling. He stays loyal, Alabama A&M, and gets drafted in the fifth round to the Baltimore Ravens. So cool little story there. Makes me like him even more. Like staying true to your roots. Staying true to the college that believed in you. Could have went elsewhere.
right.
Flashier, bigger. Especially UNC now. But I have high hopes for him. I mean, he looked good in the Senior Bowl, and hopefully, I don't want to see him this year unless it's like a jumbo package or in the preseason. but in the future, definitely one to look for because we know Ryan Stanley probably has about 2 more years left, maybe three. So could be that guy in a couple of years.
Yeah, definitely could be. Definitely could be. I'm excited to see where his career takes him, and like you mentioned, just kind of like the loyalty that he's had to his school over the years. Like, and that's actually Alabama A&M is actually an HBCU, which I'm sure meant a lot to him as well. So very cool story from Carson Vincent. But moving along here, round six, pick 178, the Ravens selected Bilal Kone, cornerback out of Western Michigan, and just kind of reading the excerpt on him from this article. Bilal Kone fits the Ravens mold with his physical traits. He excels in zone coverage, but he'll be asked to contribute on special teams early on, and that makes a ton of sense. You know what I mean? Like the Ravens love to get their guys who, whether they're DB or like a lower ranking player or something like that, like they will definitely throw them on special teams and let them develop there. Um, I had seen some things online with him in coverage. People were saying, oh, he doesn't turn his head, kind of reminiscent of Brandon Stevens, things like that. And I was watching some of the tape, and I kind of did see that. I kind of did see that. Even some of the plays that he was making, his head was not turned. And my only fear is like at the next level, if he does kind of keep that trait, then like he could probably get burned by some of these guys at the
Yeah.
next level in the NFL. So, if I had to give a grade on this pick here, I would probably give it a, I'd probably give it a C minus. And only reason why I don't give it a D is because I know what the Ravens want to do. Like again, I know that they're
Mhm.
going to throw this on special teams and ask him to, be a gunner or whatever. So yeah, I'll give it a C minus. But what are your thoughts on Bilal Cone?
Yeah, I'm a C minus as well. Definitely handsy. Did get beat a couple of times in the Senior Bowl, the 1-on-ones. Definitely for special teams, but I think what was really good for him, he was training already with Malachi Starks, so he has a good rapport with him. So that'd be good for the both of them. But I'm not sitting here and say I watch Western Michigan, so I'm gonna go with a C minus with you. I'll agree with you there.
Okay, okay. Now this next one I think is very,
Yeah,
very intriguing, right?
yeah,
So round six, pick 186, the Ravens selected kicker out of Arizona, Tyler Loop. And just reading his excerpt here, it should not be a shock to anyone that the Ravens drafted a kicker, even without the off-field allegations. Justin Tucker was shaky last season. So it makes all the sense in the world. And just for a fun fact, the Ravens have never drafted a kicker in the NFL draft. They've
yeah.
never drafted one, right? This was the first time. And I think that speaks volumes to how they feel and how they are going to deal with Justin Tucker post June 1. We've talked about it here on the show. We think that they are trying to potentially wait till June 1st to cut him for cap reasons and whatnot. And, we'll just kind of move on from there. But Tyler Loop is a guy who, I didn't even know that we picked him. I think I was busy doing something else. I saw your video on X, where you made the Colin Coward reference. You said, hey Tucker, like Tyler Luke's here, like we're all good.
Yeah,
You know what I
we're
mean?
all
Like,
good.
and that's a
Yeah,
legendary reference, a callback to when Colin Cowherd was saying that about Ben Simmons replacing LeBron James in the NBA, and obviously that never came
yeah,
to fruition.
yeah,
But this one, I'm seeing this kid hit from
yeah,
65. I'm
yeah.
seeing him hit from 70, 62. I'm like, bro, is that just one of those like viral kids who's just hitting, just in his backyard or something like that? He's done it in games. I really do like this. I think that he could potentially be the kicker of the future for the Ravens. So I'll give this one only because I don't know how he's going to do in the big leagues yet. I don't know how he's going to do in the big leagues. I'm sure we'll test him out in the preseason and see what he does. But I'll give this one a B minus. What about you?
Okay, I'm gonna go with a C. I feel like we reached for obvious reasons, and this could have been avoided. But we got Tucker UDFA. There's some good kickers UDFA you see all the time. There's one guy in the UFL banging kicks. I have to see what his name is. Um, if this was maybe seventh round, I give it that B minus. I feel like we had to reach, and it's not our fault. Our kicker is very well might be a freak, and unfortunately that forced us into drafting him at 186. But if we're talking just skill wise, yeah, man. I mean, you trot a college kicker out there for anything I say over 45. Now, I can say it from watching Big Ten games. It's not a guarantee at all. I saw Maryland. I watched,
Yeah.
watch every Maryland home game was there. Maryland's kicker couldn't really bang at anything over 40 at points. So this guy's banging
Ooh.
62 yarders in high leverage situations, 50 plus yarders. He's only going to get stronger. He'll be with an NFL organization. Um, there is a lot of potential here, but I'm gonna have to see that first fourth quarter hostile environment. We need this. It's 4th and 7. It's 23-20. We got to get this to tie it. That's when I know if this guy is all about it. So for right now, a C. But if it was in the later rounds, I'd be B minus B all over it. But it's a little too early.
Yeah, I feel that. I feel that. Got my guy Pope in the house, who is a Commanders fan. Shout out to you, Pope. I know you're happy about your team and where they're headed as well. Actually, news about a new stadium, RFK
Yeah,
Stadium, renovated, opening up 2030, glass
cool.
ceiling. It's probably going to be beautiful. I cannot wait
Yeah,
to see a game in there. He says perks of having a special teams head coach. If Tuck does not work out, he's going to be like another Brandon Aubrey. Interesting.
yeah.
Interesting.
If we can
Yeah,
scout some
man.
kickers.
Uh, Yeah, and Pope, let us know how you felt about the Commanders draft. I want to know how you
Yeah.
felt about that. And then also, let me see. So let's go ahead and move right along here. So round 6, pick 203, LaJohntay Wester,
Yeah.
wide receiver out of Colorado. Wester's a slot receiver who will initially make his mark on special teams. So he's another one of those type of guys at the Ravens draft. He will be a candidate to return kicks this season. So this is one who, the first time I ever got hip to LaJohntay Wester was when he caught that game tying overtime forcing touchdown from Shador Sanders at Colorado. I think it was last season. So obviously he's played with the likes of Shador, Travis Hunter. So he kind of like was Jimmy Horn. He's kind of like not. He wasn't in the spotlight there,
Yeah.
but I think this is a decent pick. Especially it seems like the mid section of this draft is really dedicated towards special teams, being honest with you. And it makes a lot of sense to me. It makes a lot of sense to me because you think about it, offense should be fine. As long as they can not get the yip in the playoffs, they'll be okay. You know what I mean? Lamar Jackson is going to be Lamar. Derrick Henry is going to be Derrick Henry. We've still got Isaiah Likely. We did not trade Mark Andrews like I thought we might have. We did not. He's still in the fold with the Ravens. Zay Flowers, Rashad Bateman, DeAndre Hopkins is now with us too. Tons of pieces on offense. Of course, line, we're trying to get that together as well. Defense, we addressed that very early in the draft, but special teams was a side of the football where the Ravens kind of struggled last season. And that's not something that we're used to seeing, especially with having John Harbaugh, a special teams head coach. He normally takes a lot of pride, and I know he still does in that unit. So I think that the picks that we're seeing here from about what pick 5 to this one here with
Yeah.
LaJohntay Wester, it's very special teams focused, and I can't be mad at it, right? You kind of have to retool that room and make sure that it's ready to go because you got to be consistent there. You got to be consistent there. But what are your thoughts on LaJohntay Wester?
I'm gonna go A minus here for a bunch of reasons. I think we're finally addressing something we haven't had in a while, and that is a kick returner, punt returner. This is this bait, this could change, but just the potential wise, I mean, Burst, he was doing that, I believe, at FAU, was doing it with Colorado, uh, and thinking offensively, if he is, given these offensive snaps, it takes Zay away from being that gadget guy. With all due respect, I don't want my first round 1,000 yard receiver being a gadget guy. I want
Nope.
Zay running down the field, catching the ball, hopefully learning. And, you're probably one of the fastest guys on the field. Just run past them. If we want to do these jet sweeps or these, short, throws at the line of scrimmage, I'd give it to somebody like LaJohntay Wester. Um, but just the potential there. Rasheed Ali, you have a uphill battle to make this roster from now on because you have got to be that kick returner to make this team because this guy right here is if I'm starting the season now, I think he's in pole position to be that guy running back our kicks and punts come week 1. To be honest, because that's why I thought he was
Yeah.
running.
Yeah. Yeah. Totally agree there. Again, seems another special team move here. Steve O said he's a Tank Dell clone. That would be actually pretty
Mm,
awesome.
mm,
Esco says Jimmy Horn would have been crazy too. Absolutely, I agree. But yeah, I mean, just more special teams help, which we cannot be mad at. If I had to give it a grade, go with a, I'd probably go with a C plus. This one, I'd probably go with a C plus. We'll see how much he actually does end up contributing. All right, but moving on. Moving on. So round 6, we're staying in round 6. The Ravens have a lot of round 6 picks. right? They
Hmm.
had 4 round 6 picks, right? Because the Ravens did a little bit of trading in this draft, right? They traded around a little bit, didn't trade any players or anything like that, but they got some picks in some different spots. They swapped a couple of picks. So another round 6 pick, pick number 210, Aeneas Peebles, defensive
Hmm.
tackle out of Virginia Tech. Here's the little excerpt they have on him. He is undersized but has a relentless motor. Bigger offensive linemen will have their way with him. So obviously not the most promising, summary of him there, but I think that this is just another developmental guy, another depth piece. We can see if he'll make the roster. Um, One thing that I did want to back up, talk about our defensive line, with the addition of a Mike Green, right? I think that Mike Green, if he's able to really prove himself early on and make offenses allocate extra resources to his side of the field to make sure that he doesn't wreck a game, that's gonna free up guys like Travis Jones. That's gonna free up guys like Namdi Madubuike. So I do expect our defensive line to take a step forward this season. And yeah, I mean, for that reason, I mean, this is one of those deep pieces right here where I can't be mad at it. It's a depth piece. We lost a Michael Pierce season to retirement, and we're gonna need his replacement. So maybe the Ravens are trying to develop a guy to kind of be that. But this guy, like they said, undersized but has a relentless motor. So we'll see what they do with him. I can't really say too much about it. I'll probably just go with a C for this one. But what will you?
I really, really, really like this pick. I didn't think he was going to be available even in the fifth round. And I wanted us to get, some extra D line help, maybe bring in some competition, with Broderick Washington. Um, I think he'll contribute this year. I do. I'm gonna give this a B plus. I like this pick a lot. Some people had him in top 100 talks. Obviously, draft goes a little crazy. I saw. I don't know which one you watch. I watch NFL Network. I prefer that over ESPN. But they were mentioning how like speed was a big thing this draft, and how guys were getting picked. That maybe weren't on some guys' board. They were getting picked a lot earlier, and
Yeah.
one of them, like we mentioned, Buchanan. That's one of them. I know Ruben Hippolyte from Maryland. He wasn't. He was a UDFA projected. He goes in the fourth round to the Bears because of the 40 he ran at the pro day. So maybe we saw something athletic. We liked him that others team didn't, but I liked this. Let me give this a B plus. Yeah, I do like this pick a lot. Not gonna lie.
Yeah, Dre says here, not getting a big body nose tackle is the only thing I did not like. But that boy Peebles got pass rush moves, crazy spin, B plus for our guy
Yeah.
Dre. Okay, so I mean, like, and somebody else said D Skinner FX says he's a rotation piece. Pass rush is where he'll kind of excel, but we will see. We will see. And he also says we're gonna make him a DN. We'll
Mm-hmm.
see. We'll
We'll
see
see.
what the
Yeah.
Ravens have planned for him. But moving along here, another round 6 pick. Surprise, surprise, right?
Yes.
Pick
Surprise.
number 212, Robert Longerbeam, cornerback
Mm-hmm.
out of Rutgers. Robert Longerbeam is one of the most experienced cornerbacks in the draft and ran a 4.39 40-yard dash. Surprised he fell to the 6th round. So, I mean, when an athlete like this falls this low, I mean, is there something that we're missing here? Is there an I word? Was he hurt? Was he banged up? And is he kind
Yeah.
of damaged goods? I'm not sure. I don't have the full, scope on this guy really, but you can never have too many cornerbacks either. That's another thing that we talked to Jason about last week on the show. Like, I can recall back to times where the Ravens were so devoid of corners that they were just throwing me and you basically out there, Alex, and it didn't look
Yeah.
good. It did not look good.
No.
You had guys like Baker Mayfield just literally targeting certain guys, just going after him over and over and over again, and you know who I'm talking about. So
Uh,
being thin at corner is no good, and bringing in another guy who we could potentially develop and maybe he could turn into a star, especially with his measurables and his athletic traits. I like it, especially this late draft. Give me a B.
yeah, I'm right there with you. I like him. I like this pick more than Kone, to be honest, and I just like what I saw. He can lay the boom. He can pick the ball off. He was batting down balls to the line of scrimmage. I did like what I saw from him. I'm giving this a B as well. Um, I pick for pick wise, I think I'm taking him over Kone, 100%.
Yeah, yeah. Let me see. And so round 7, pick 243, and everybody says C for Robert Longerbeam. By the way, I see you guys in the chat. But round 7, the last pick of the draft for the Ravens selected offensive guard Garrett Dillinger.
Hmm.
Garrett Dillinger out of LSU. It says, much like his college teammate, Dillinger thrives in the run game. Many evaluators have him as a top 150 prospect, so he is a steal at the stage of the draft. And, this is one of those like us getting guys excel in, in run protection, in run blocking. I'm sorry. I think that's important for the Ravens just because of how much they put, of an emphasis on the run game with Derrick Henry,
Hmm.
Hill, Keaton Mitchell. Maybe we expect to see him take a step. You have to have these rotational guys, right, who
Yep.
can actually step in and they can do what you need them to do, which is, support the run game. With this one, I haven't watched. Again, I'm like you. I'm not going to pretend I watched a bunch of offensive linemen play football at any college, really, but I'll probably go with like just for the pick position here. I'll probably go with a C plus. I'll probably go
Okay.
with a C plus because again, I can never hate the Ravens getting more guys to beef up that offensive line, especially if somebody goes down.
And we have a fantastic history of drafting linemen day two, day three. Mainly day three. A lot of our guys go and get paid UDFA. Makari, like you talked about. You can just go down the list of guys that have gotten paid in this league that were day three guys. So I'm gonna give it a B minus. One thing I did like, which I've never seen this before, I went on his Instagram. I want to go to his page, see what videos he has. An offensive lineman has a mixtape. He had a tape out there. It's an NBA YoungBoy. I'm like, I've never seen this before. So I'm hoping I get all the energy from Mr. Garrett Dillinger, and hopefully it's a starter soon. But I've never seen it before. I'm like, this might be something. I was behooved on Instagram on Saturday night looking at this. It was unbelievable. So I'm giving a B
Interesting.
minus for that.
Interesting.
Yeah, something about them LSU
Okay.
boys. I don't know what it is.
Yeah. Yeah. So that does wrap up the NFL draft recap that we have for you guys here. So let's go ahead and let's give an overall grade on this draft for the Ravens, and then we'll touch on some of the UDFA's that the Ravens picked up as well. But to give these, before we give the our overall grades on this draft, and I want to answer Kogan's tweet here, not tweet, but a post here. It says, realistically, how many of these guys do y'all actually see making the team? Because yeah, not all these guys are going to make the team.
Yeah.
We've seen in years past where we have a bunch of draft picks and certain guys just simply don't make it. So we'll talk about that. But let's go ahead and we want to go ahead and get the chat involved as well and see what you
Yes.
guys grade this draft. So let's go ahead and switch over to our chat scene.
Yes. There we go. I'll be honest, man. How many do I see making the team? If I'm gonna say like, if you had to give you a number that I know it's gonna be, and obviously not like four or five, I'm gonna go eight. I think eight would definitely make the team. If I'm gonna say who wouldn't make the team, possibly one of the cornerbacks, like a longer beam or Kone. Um,
Mm-hmm.
Maybe Loop, depending on what's going on with Tucker. I just got to keep an open mind. I don't know what the NFL does, and then maybe Dillinger the lineman. Not too sure. Maybe they could stash him for next year, but I think eight would
Yeah.
definitely make it.
Yeah, I think that I would probably go 7 or 8 as well. Like you said, one of the corners I feel like will drop out. Maybe one of the linemen. I'm not sure whether it be Garrett Dillinger or whether that be. I don't want Carson because I do think that he'll make the team, to be honest.
Yeah.
But it's gonna be a couple of guys. I'd say like 3 guys who get left off of the team. Maybe some guys who go to the practice lot. So we'll see. We will see. But if I had to give an overall grade on this draft, right, and that's what I want everybody to do right now. If you're in the live chat, listening, watching live, make sure you drop your grade for this Ravens draft in 2025 in the chat right now. Appreciate all you guys for coming. Make sure you like this video. And then if you are new to our channel, first of all, my name is Sutton Def. That is simply AS10. You guys know him very well. You guys subscribe to us. We'd appreciate that. Of course, we will stay rocking out here with the Ravens content throughout the off season. Of course, now is the time for not a whole lot. I mean, what do we got coming on the horizon? You know what I
Rookie
mean? Like,
minicamp this week.
oh, that's this week.
We
Oh, that's right. That's
we
right.
we
That's
can
right. Yeah.
overreact to practice videos, and I will be a
Yeah.
victim of that. I'll fall in that hole.
Yeah, and I know you'll be making the videos and throwing them up on your channel as well. So make sure you guys go ahead and subscribe to Simply AS10 on YouTube too. But let me see. I see the chat here is going off about the draft grades. Let me see what you guys are saying. Let me see. Let me full screen this so I can read it. So we got D Skinner FX giving the draft a B plus. Captain Gamer giving it an A. Sam giving it an A as well. Let me see what else you guys are saying. MDT Sports thinks LeJontay Wester is going to be a dog. Okay, that's interesting.
Hmm.
Maybe let us know why. Killer Cam says, I wish we would have gotten offensive lineman with a better chance to start right away. I can agree with that. Maybe a guard. That was a big thing that I know a lot of us talked about. But again, I think those two guard spots with Falele and Andrew Voorhees, I think are theirs to lose. Maybe a little bit more Falele's than Voorhees, but they brought in some competition. So we'll see
Hmm.
what the competition does for them, and we'll see who ends up winning and coming out on top. Let me see. Killer Cam says, without Green, I would say a B minus. Okay. And then D Skinner says, you get, bro, 78% of us are going to overreact. Yeah, that's what we do as football fans, bro.
Yeah,
Any little news in
that's
the
fine.
offseason, man, we just kind of, yeah, that's what we do. Killer Cam says C plus. Overall, for me, I would give this draft a B plus. I give it a B plus. I think that there were a lot of like picks in the middle and towards the end of the draft that kind of like, especially with the trading around and stuff like that,
Yeah.
that were kind of head scratchers for me, especially live when we actually made the picks. But those first two picks, man, like I said before, I can't rate this draft anything lower than a B. And like I've said before
Yeah.
on the last episode, or one of the last episodes of the show, in the last 7 years, basically since Lamar Jackson has been with the Ravens have averaged 9 draft picks per season. 9 draft picks, and they normally hit on about 2 of those draft picks. So that's about 22%. And I do think that they'll hit on their top draft picks this year. I think Malachi Starks is going to be really good for the Ravens, and I think Mike Green will as well. So with that being said, it's already a win for me, and I'll go with a B
Mhm.
plus.
I like it. I'm gonna go with A minus. I think we are a much better team than we were going into this, and I think it makes EDC's life easier. I've had a good conversation with our guy Sam in here. I would love for us to get another edge rusher. There are a lot of good guys still out there, free agent wise. I'm kind of done with all these experiments we had on the roster, have on this roster. We're in win now mode. Um, you can extend OA, get the cap lower. Not sure what they're going to do with him. Obviously, keep with their trade talks, but guys like Judon out there, Zadarius Smith, there's still quality out there. I feel like we can add there, and then maybe their linemen as well. But I'm gonna go an A minus. I think Green was big, Starks was big, and one of these tackles to help us out, or a guard, and I think one of them could be make this opening day starting line. So I'm happy with it. Obviously not an A plus, not the best in there, but still good, and I'm happy.
Yeah. We got our guys from Lunch Break Hot Take in the building. What's going on, LBHT? Make sure y'all go subscribe to them. Also doing it big in the Ravens community. We appreciate y'all for coming through. HT 22% is not good for a team that builds through the draft. But hey, man, I think that, and I agree. I agree with you, LBHT. Like you would love to hit on a lot more of those, especially if you have that many picks. But I think that the Ravens' philosophy is they want to stockpile as many picks as they possibly can to give themselves a higher chance to hit on somebody or something. You know what I mean? Because having like an influx of young talent come onto this roster, especially with looming contracts of course, Lamar's going to have to get extended. Tyler Linderbaum's on the horizon. Kyle Hamilton, guys like that. You have to be able to build through the draft, and you got to be able to take swings, and some of those swings are going to be end up misses. But I think that the best thing about this one is like it's kind of clear and obvious that the Ravens went for production. They valued production with their first couple of picks. Malachi Starks doing his thing at Georgia. Proven guy playing with high level talent that a lot of the competition that Malachi Starks was playing against are also in the NFL. You know what I mean? You look at a Mike Green, led the nation in sacks, 17 and a half sacks last season. And then the rest of the guys is just like, okay, if this guy hits, great. If he doesn't, all right, cool. It's not like the Ravens are in a rebuild mode. You know what I mean? Like the Ravens are a piece, maybe 2 pieces away from really being probably the best roster in the NFL, like catching up with the Eagles. So
Yeah.
I think from that perspective, I get what you're saying. LBHT 22% is not good enough, and I agree. But at the same time, I do also see what the Ravens are trying to do in trying to see if they can have a higher probability of hitting on one of these guys. Because imagine this: imagine if Malachi Starks and Mike Green end up being really good for the Ravens. But then also imagine if just kind of throwing one out here now. Imagine if I don't know, like a Teddy Buchanan comes out and emerges as one of the best linebackers. Or imagine if an Emery Jones Jr. really steps up at tackle if somebody went down. Or imagine if Tyler Loop. Imagine if the stuff about Justin Tucker is true, and we have to actually get Tyler Loop and start playing him, and he's actually really good. Then those 11 picks, it actually ends up working out for us, right? Because we're just giving ourselves more chances. We're giving ourselves more chances to hit on somebody and something. But what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think Sam's. Yeah, I think Peebles will be good, and hopefully, fingers crossed. We have Jones. Is a starter come week 1, and one of the guys that was on the roster last year, isn't starting, and there's no growing pains, and that would be very nice. And what you would look back in hindsight, like, wow, like we had to go through what 13, 14, 15, 16 weeks of growing pains while this guy comes in here and is looking pretty good. Has his rookie mistakes, but still is looking pretty damn good for a starting guard in the NFL. That right there is a win to me. If I were to say, how many hits per se, I'm gonna go probably 3 or 4. I think Peebles will be a hit. Our first 2 guys will be a hit, and you can sprinkle in one of the other guys. Say one of the linemen will be a hit. So hopefully, we up it from 2 to 4, double that. But either way, I'm happy with this. Not the best out there, but we're drafting, in certain areas to get better right now compared to in the long run. So, like I said, if you can talk to me EDC, maybe free agency wise, shore up this roster like you did in 23 when you got a Clowney, late, a Darby late, guys of that quality in other positions. I'll be very happy, and let's get this roster looking real good.
Yeah, agree there. Definitely agree there. So yeah, this episode I think we're gonna leave it here with the Ravens draft talk, and then the next episode, I think we're gonna go ahead and get into the UDFA talk, and we're gonna also
Oh
talk
yeah,
about
I'm ready
the
for
so
that.
the rest of the I would say also the rest of the AFC North and how we're reacting to their drafts as well, because obviously some very interesting stuff. We've got Shador Sanders with the Browns now. We've got honestly let's just talk about that before we get out of here. Just really quick, the whole Shador Sanders with the Browns. What were your thoughts on that when you saw him get drafted to the Browns?
Um, he's set up in a very bad situation. I'll say that right now. I think this is now. I remember listening to Kyle Van Noy on the Marlon podcast. And where are you going with this? Van Noy didn't work out in Detroit because he was, I believe, an owner. GM didn't want him. GM and coach obviously made. I don't think they wanted Shador. I think Jimmy had wanted Shador, and I don't think it'll work out for that reason. I don't think he'll be given a chance, a fair chance per se. But my prediction is he'll probably start, have a couple of good games, fall off like Baker, goes elsewhere, and probably does good. A typical Browns quarterback.
Yeah, I mean, the problem is, I mean, he's kind of far down on the depth chart right now. I mean, you got
Yeah,
Deshaun
yeah,
Watson, Joe Flacco. They drafted Dylan Gabriel in front of him. Apparently, according to some sources, Browns had Dylan Gabriel rated higher than Shador Sanders on their board. So I mean, I think that Shador it's going to be a wide open quarterback competition. I think also Kenny Pickett's there as well. By the way, there's going to be a wide open quarterback competition. And I don't think that since there's nothing that really jumps off the screen with Shador Sanders, I don't think that he's going to be. I don't think we're going to see him as a starter in this league for at least a year, maybe 2. That's just my prediction. Um, yeah, man. I mean, happy for him that he got drafted. I was actually kind of upset that he fell so far because I didn't think that he deserved that, like a 5th round pick. But yeah, man. Welcome to the AFC North. It's no joke over here, man.
yeah. I'm happy the Steelers didn't get him. I think if he went to Pittsburgh, he probably would be. I'd be a little bit more worried. But as for the Browns,
Yeah.
um, I don't want to spoil too much on Thursday, but a lot of the AFC North teams center their drafts around stopping the Ravens offense. And that's I don't want to, be like
Yes.
the main character syndrome, but if you look around, they all went D tackle first pick for a reason
Yep.
or that line. They don't want to get ran over by Derrick Henry and company again. And it's obvious.
Right. Yeah, Bengals went ahead. They got Shamar Stewart. But yeah, rest of them, Mason Graham. They went defensive line real heavy, real heavy. So yeah, it definitely does make sense for them to do that, especially considering that you're gonna have another year of Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry running downhill at you.
Yep.
So
Yep.
it makes sense for them to try to beef that line. But yeah, we're gonna get more into the rest of the AFC North on Thursday's episode of the Purple Rain podcast. Again, if you enjoyed this episode of the show, make sure you like the video, please. Just like the video. And then also subscribe to the channel as well. You guys know how much that helps us out. We appreciate y'all each and every time. My name is Sutton Def. That is Simply ASN, my co-host. Of course, like he led the episode with manscaped.com as our sponsor. Might be a new sponsor on the way. So stay tuned. Stay tuned, PRP. Might be a new sponsor on the way. But Manscaped is our sponsor right now, as it has been for a few seasons now. You can go on manscaped.com, use our code PRP at checkout. You're going to save 20% off plus free international shipping. Of course, you can follow us on Instagram, where we are live with this episode right now at the Purple Rain Podcast. Of course, sub us on YouTube channel if you're watching right here. You can follow me on Twitter or Instagram at Sutton Def. You can follow him on Twitter at SimplyAS10, on Instagram at SimplyAS10.pod. And yeah, with that being said, I'm going to let my guy Alex take us out.
Thank you for coming through episode 308 of the Purple Rain podcast. We love you. We appreciate you, especially for all the good ball talking, ball knowledge we shared today. A lot more to come on Thursday and the rest of the summer. As always, stay positive, test negative.
Yes, yes, yes. And never, ever, ever forget, even on the rainiest of days, to call God. Episode 308 of PRP. We're going to catch you guys in the next one.